Tropical Storm Nicholas formed earlier this morning in the Bay of Campeche. It is currently has a 40-mile-per-hour tropical storm with gusts up to 50 at this point. We have the latest cone in from the National Hurricane Center. As of right here, it is expected to move towards the Texas coast by Tuesday. NHC currently has it making landfall near Port Aransas, but there are some models that have it indicating it'll make landfall near Matagorda into Galveston even. At this point, later into the track, the storm is expected to slow down considerably. First over and around Houston at the point is a tropical depression, so we could see up to 5, 10, 15 inches of rainfall from that, depending on how strong the storm gets. This is the latest advisory right here. But again, it's moving west-northwest at 15 miles per hour. Maximum sustained winds 40 miles per hour. Higher gusts. Tropical storm force winds extend out 105 miles. Pressures 1,008 at this time. Yeah, over eastern portions of the Mexican state, we could see rainfall of about 2 to 5 inches at that point. And pretty much everywhere on the Texas coast could see 2 to 4 feet of storm surge at that point. So I'll be watching the situation very closely. These are the key messages for Tropical Storm Nicholas. 1. Tropical storm conditions are expected along portions of the northeastern coast of Mexico and the coast of South Texas beginning on Monday. Nicholas is forecast to approach Middle Texas, the Middle Texas coast as a strong tropical storm on Tuesday. Tropical storm conditions are possible among portions of the Middle and Upper Texas coasts late Monday night and Tuesday. I've looked at the models of these. They say it's going to get up to 65 miles per hour, but keep in mind it's in a very favorable area of development, so that could easily go up. Am I saying it's going to be a hurricane? No. Am I saying it can be? Yes, it has that potential and more. But do not take what the NHC says about intensity with a grain of salt. They've been pretty wrong the last couple of years when it comes to intensity. They're good when it comes to where the track of where it's going, but they're not so good when it goes to intensity, especially in the Bay of Campeche, in the Western Gulf, where conditions are very favorable for development. So I'll be watching that very closely. It's got pretty, this is the satellite imagery as of now, got pretty organized over the last several hours. Became a tropical storm out of an invest, so that really tells you something. It's getting pretty organized. We're seeing the minus 60s, getting a bunch of convective plumes to the minus 80s at this point, with Hurricane Hunter aircraft confirming this is a tropical storm. So this is the second key message. There's the possibility of life-threatening storm surge along the Texas coast from the mouth of the Rio Grande to High Island. Residents of these areas should follow any advice given to local officials. This is what they're talking about, from the mouth of the Rio Grande all the way to High Island, past Galveston Bay, encompassing pretty much 90% of the Texas coast. That storm surge can go up depending on how strong this tropical storm or hurricane gets at this point. Like I said, these are the intensity models right here. Take them with a grain of salt. Remember what happened with Hurricane Harvey. It was only forecast to be a strong tropical storm. Next thing you know, it blew up to a major Category 4 hurricane. So take them with a grain of salt. I'll be watching it very closely, but take it with a grain of salt. Do not plan everything based on it being a tropical storm. So, 3. Periods of heavy rainfall are expected to impact portions of the Texas and Louisiana coasts today through the middle of the week. Significant rainfall amounts are possible, potentially resulting in flash urban and isolated river flooding. 10 to 15 inches are expected around the Houston metro area at this point. But that's a lot of rain. It's nothing compared to Hurricane Harvey, but it's still going to slow down, stay there for at least a day and a half. So keep that in mind. It's not going to slow down for 5 days or anything like that. Let's hope not. But keep in mind, it's just going to stall for a little bit. You're going to be in there for at least 36 hours. I don't know. You're saying 10 to 15 inches of rain. Take it with a grain of salt. I say we can see isolated amounts of up to 20 inches possible at this point. If depending on how strong it gets, depends on how much rain it falls. So this is the satellite imagery right here. It's moving northwest instead of northwest, so that really tells you something. Depending on where it makes landfall and depending on how strong it gets are really the key factors on what kind of impacts that Texas will get, especially the Houston metro area, which got 60 inches of rain during Hurricane Harvey, and the Texas coast got just pretty much swamped with almost 40 inches of rain during Hurricane Imelda. So keep that in mind while you're planning for this. Now, this is what I think is going to happen. It's going to spend part of the day just organizing, gradually strengthening as it gets closer to Texas and everything. I'm not making an intensity forecast because it's just too early at this point. At this point, it's just too early. If it were me, I would say if it were up to me, and I would give an intensity forecast, I would say it would be at least a 70-mile-per-hour tropical storm. But again, I could be wrong. I don't have an official forecast because it's just too early for that. It could be a hurricane, it could not. Regardless of how strong it gets, the main threat at this point is rainfall because of how much rain it's going to dump. That's the main threat at this point. So if you're anywhere on the Texas coast, start preparing for the worst at this point. I'll keep you updated as many times as I possibly can, because this is in favorable conditions for rapid strengthening. It just needs to organize a little bit more, and that's it. So, one last just a quick recap. Models have it as a strong tropical storm. Take them with a grain of salt. When it comes to landfall place, it's still most likely places near Port Aransas. I think it's going to be at Matagorda Bay. That's where I think it'll be, between Port Aransas and Freeport, Texas. That's where it's going to be. And final thing is that this is an evolving situation. It's a tropical storm now, but it could be a hurricane at any time. So prepare for the worst, hope for the best. The main threat right now is rainfall, and I'll update you as soon as possible. So be sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more updates regarding Tropical Storm Nicholas.